Welcome back to an episode of Diggity, a video game podcast. Tonight, I am joined by the fantastic, the wonderful, the beautiful Nick from WASD, OBO, and Spawn Camp as a whole.
Phenomenal. That was really nice. See, Jeff fucks me every time we do an intro together or we do a show. It is like, that's the beautiful Evan, the luscious Brody, the
Nick.
Okay Matt, and then there's Nick.
And
Nick. And then there's me.
No, as I told you before the show, and I think everybody heard it because for some reason I don't think my mic was muted, I'm a considerate lover. So I want to make sure that when you come on to my show, I give you the appropriate introduction.
I could see you being considerate lover. That's something I'm going to have to ask Amber. I'm like, Amber, does Brody also help you? But we're not on OBO, though, so we don't have to
we
go
are
there.
not on OBO. We are not. But if you want to listen to OBO, you can go over to Spawn Camp Co. on Instagram and Twitter. You can find all of the shows under our nice little network umbrella, whatever you would like to call it. We have not labeled it a network because we want to be able to expand if we would like. But you can find OBO over there, Build Bros, WASD, and of course, Diggity. And WASD, sorry. I didn't mean to leave you out. WASD and beyond. See, I knew I was going to do it.
No, it's okay. I forgive you this time.
There's a lot of shows going on over there. But you can catch, Diggity every Thursday evening, usually around 9:30. We went late a little bit today, but that was due to, some last minute swaps and things like that. But we are here, and we're very excited to talk about a little game tonight that I think we're going to pretty much focus the entire time on. I don't think we're even going to talk about anything else. There was a little bit of news, so super quickly, a new gen of Pokemon was announced. That was a thing, but that got overshadowed so very quickly because Elden Ring is out. Also,
I feel like everything got overshadowed, though, because of Elden Ring.
I was going to say Horizon got completely overshadowed. It's very wild. Very wild. But before we get into this too much, Nick, what else have you been playing? Or is it only Elden Ring?
It's only been Elden Ring, man.
Okay.
I was playing... Sorry, I was playing Sifu for a minute, and that game is cool. I like the concept of it a lot. I like the combat. I had a lot of fun with it, but Elden Ring came out, and I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Horizon is just the game that came out before Elden Ring.
They've done that to their titles twice now.
Twice. I think the last one came out before Sekiro. Did it not?
I don't think it was Sekiro. It was something...
Bloodborne? No, it wasn't Bloodborne.
I don't think it was a Souls game. I think it was something else. I can't remember. It launched right before some other huge title that completely...
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was the game that came out a week before Breath of the Wild.
Why would you do that to yourself?
I have no clue.
They're not bad games.
No,
but you're not gonna stack up to Breath of the Wild or Elden Ring. You're just not. It's not possible. So why would you choose that? Whatever. I don't get to pick the release date.
Right, and I'm sure they don't really, to some extent either. Like at a certain point, investors start knocking on the door and like, hey, you need to get this game out, and we would like it to be in this first quarter. If you could go ahead and make that happen, we kind of are approaching the end of the quarter, right? I mean, getting there. So they probably pretty much had a deadline on there and wanted to get it out a little bit before the end of the quarter so they could get some good sales in there. And I would imagine that's exactly what happened. So
I would assume so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But before we dive into this a little bit more, I have been playing Elden Ring, and I played all of about 30 minutes of Pokemon Pearl because there was one night that it was too late for me to come down and get into Elden Ring, so I sat in bed and played Pokemon for 30 minutes, basically made it through the tutorial, chose my fucking starter, and that was about it.
Too late to play Elden Ring?
Oh, dude.
I don't know. We've gone pretty late playing that fucking game, dude. Like, I'll look at my clock and it's like 2 a.m. I'm like, dude, what am I doing to myself? I'll go to work all fucking just shitty and mean to people. I'm like, just don't talk to me because like I've been stuck here in Elden Ring for the past 3 nights and I've stayed up till 2, slowly inching through that progress. I don't care about any of you right now.
Yeah. I think the latest I've made it so far is like 1-ish. But that's still far too late considering my alarm goes off at like 6 o'clock in the morning. By the time you get up there, get ready for bed, go to bed, like, yeah, it's 1:30-ish, and man, that's late. That's late. But that's exactly what this game does to you, right? It's very much that, ooh, what's over here? What's over here? So, I mean, since we really don't have a whole lot else to talk about, if you want to hear about all the Steam stuff like Steam Deck and things like that, go listen to the Hot Fix on WASD. We can promote the shit out of them because they're part of our network, so we love them, and, and I don't have to cover it because they already did it. And actually, I already did cover it on that show with him. So
on that show, yeah. It's just become like a crisscross.
Right. It's a very Nick and Brody heavy content week this week. So, but with that being said, Elden Ring, my guy. I don't even really fully know how to even begin this, because this is kind of a review in progress. I don't want to call it a full-blown review because some people get really butthurt if you call it a review and you haven't beat the game. Honestly, I haven't even beat the first boss. So,
I forgot you haven't killed Margit yet.
Yeah, I have not killed Margit yet. So to qualify this conversation we are about ready to have, how much time do you have in the game?
About 12 hours in the game.
That's
I have
it?
about 12 hours. Yeah, it's wild. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I would say, technically speaking, I should probably only be level maybe 30, maybe 45, 12 hours in.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay. I think
I'm not level 30 or 45. I'm level 74 because we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll definitely get there. I am, let's see, I believe I'm around 12 hours as well. Pretty close too. So we're almost right on. I mean, granted, we're typically playing about the same time too, but a few times we have not been at the same time. So, I am level 51. And I should probably only be, the way I have played so far, I should probably only be level like 22. But because I am very, very good at not getting a ton of souls before I die again. Go pick up my souls, die again. Like, it was this vicious cycle. I mean, we should probably just go ahead and talk a little bit about why we are higher.
Cheesed it, man. They left an exploit in the fucking game that everybody now knows about. It's the fucking boulder exploit. It's there to use. Just do it if you want to make the game, because there's no easy mode, right?
No.
This game is set to what it's set to, and I like it for that. But there are ways to make the game easier, whether it's finding early OP items or trying to get the one-up on bosses that might take you 5 hours to beat, but you eventually get to them, then you kill them, whatever. We found a soul farm, basically, a rune farm, rather.
Yep.
And it's exactly what it sounds like. You're just farming runes for an hour. But in that hour, you can farm up to 100,000 runes, or 500,000 runes. It's 100,000 each 10 minutes, if you do it right. So, we're bad boys, but From Software left it in the game.
Yeah.
And it's not made the game that much easier, realistically.
It really hasn't. Honestly, like, even going back to some of the starting areas and stuff, depending on what weapon I'm using, right? Like, if I use I found a weapon a while ago that's this giant boat anchor. And so it's literally a great axe is what it is, essentially.
He's so fucking stoked on this goddamn thing, too. He literally cheesed for like an hour almost just to level up to use the anchor.
Yeah, I had to get my strength up to like 26. I mean, granted, I could have actually used it because the strength that it requires shows for one hand. So I could have two-handed it and been okay. But I did cheese for a little bit so I could get to that level 26 and use this thing, and it's fucking awesome. But if I go back to the starting area, like, if I can power up a strong attack against enemies, I can kill them in one-ish hit, 1, 2, depending on what they are, right? Like, if they're a grunt, I mean, you can almost do that with the sword you start with, pretty much. But
yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, it really has helped a little bit, mainly in the health department. Like, it gives you, like, a leveling up vigor. You can actually stay alive to some hits you may not have before, but it certainly does not make this game way, way easier. Like,
I will say, for someone who's new to the Soul franchise, I would say this is the game to hop into.
Yeah, absolutely. Even without like doing that cheese or whatever, I was still having a good time. I literally did it mainly for the just for the ability to like buy a bunch of the weapons and stuff because I'm a collector.
Yes.
Like, so a lot of the time that I've actually been doing that, I've been using it to buy all of the weapons and the spells and things like that, and the multiplayer items that you have to get from the round table there, and stuff like that. So it's not really. I did some leveling. I purposely stopped at level 50 because I didn't want to make it too easy. I didn't want to go like too crazy with it, because I want to experience that, right? Like this is my first foray really into a Souls game. So I didn't want to completely take that element away from it, but I have also already been thinking about like a second playthrough and going through and not doing any of that and solely playing it the right way, not the right way, right? Like the intended way
without some cheese.
Yeah, but after I mean, it makes it nice so I can actually like do some things in it. When I fuck up, I'm not punished as hard at the moment, right? Like I can take a couple hits and it's not the end of the world. So
the cool thing about doing a second playthrough, I think for you at this point is now that you've experienced the game, if you don't have to go back and cheese it, you already know some of the shit. You kind of know what to expect. You know where some good items are. And it's just a good way to get through that first initial open area. Because let's start here. I know we've already started talking about it, but let's actually start the conversation here. Okay. This world is huge.
It's massive. If you had to run around this world, good God.
You'd be fucked.
You'd be fucked. It would take you eternity.
Yes, absolutely it fucking would. But each inch of this world was thought out.
Absolutely.
Like, undoubtedly thought out. Every fucking inch of this fucking game feels like it should and needs to be there. None of it feels lazy. It doesn't feel like an open world for the sake of being an open world. This has a purpose. The world itself is a story. Yes. But that's what From does, even with their more linear titles, which all of them have been pretty linear to an extent. But I mean, you can kind of branch off and go to the end game boss, no matter if you wanted to, but that's not a good idea. Here, you can do the same shit, but through your journey, you're gonna encounter so many crazy things. Like, this whole world is just so perfectly put together, and it's so beautiful, given the fact that it's not on a newer engine. It's technically last gen. It's amazing once you get out of that first tutorial level, and it's almost like it felt like the first time I walked out of a vault in Fallout.
Yeah,
kind of. You get out of the vault and you look up and like the screen just goes boom and it just punches you in the face. I was like, holy shit, man! Like, just a punch to the face of just beauty and like sorrow at the same time. Because like you look around, you're like, this is a sad, beautiful world. And then you got your tree sentinel right there, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. yeah, right out of the gate. Like you actually have the option to skip the whole tutorial area, which, again, new to the Soulsborne or to the Souls like type of game. So I was like, I'm going through this. I didn't even realize it was a tutorial yet, and I thought I was getting tricked because I just felt that way already from all the messages like in the very intro area where you go and fight the first boss and it kills you. But so I end up going through this area, and the first like little mini boss at the end of this tutorial actually killed me once or twice, because I was still trying to figure things out, right? Like, I have no idea really what I'm doing. None of the little guys gave me too much of an issue, but once I got to that boss, I was like, oh, actually, the shield is important. I still haven't learned that lesson, by the way. I still don't use the shield like I should.
You don't parry or nothing, do you?
I don't do shit except for roll like a motherfucker.
Roll, jump, and slash. That jump button, dude.
Oh my god, it's a game changer.
Good shit. Good shit for a game like this.
After you get out of that tutorial, the first thing you see is that tree sentinel, and you're like, I mean, I could give it a go, and he will absolutely kick the living shit out of you right at the beginning.
Oh,
no doubt about it.
That motherfucker whoops your ass, dude.
Yeah. But honestly, so how we typically tackle a lot of reviews on here, we kind of go and break it down, and then we have our general talk at the end. So we've done a little bit of the gushing so far.
Yes.
Which gush is a gross word for it, but in the wise words of
Jake and
Holden over on Wizard and the Bruiser, I wanted to use the word gush. So let's start with the story so far.
Yeah.
So I'll let you go ahead and give your thoughts on the story, and we'll go from there. What do you think?
Do you know what the fuck's going on in this game right now?
Absolutely fucking not.
Okay, I know that. I'm trying to fucking find the shards. Like the FromSoft game, man. So like, I'm diving into the lore as I play. Right, that's how it's intended. You're supposed to find the lore. It's not told to you. Obviously, you'll get in this game. You do get a couple cinematics that are nice. But it doesn't hold your hand. None of it. The story doesn't hold your hand. The game doesn't hold your hand, and I like that about these games. From what I'm understanding so far, I do like it. I'm getting salt and pepper flakes of George R.R. Martin here, because he worked on this with Miyazaki.
From what I understand, he mainly just came in for like the initial world building, and then they slapped his name on it. From what I understand, I don't know how true that is. It was like a one-off thing I heard, but
well, that makes sense because this game actually has dragons in it,
right?
So it makes sense. No, from what I'm getting so far, it's cool. Like, I need to dive deeper into the story and to understand more of it. But that's just like any Souls game. Like, you need to keep pushing through. You need to find shit that opens up. NPCs will tell you the story of the game. That's like the thing that people need to realize. Like, bumping into characters in the world will tell you what's going on. Whether it's you find some maiden on just a road, which I did the other day. I was traveling the roads and I was on the Bridge of Sacrifice, and I just pulled off, and there was a woman there with a blindfold on her eyes. I'm not going to get into the quest line, but there's a lot of shit I learned through that. Like, so it's hard to talk about the story because it's going to be hard for a lot of people to catch up on the story in their first playthrough. I'm guaranteeing 90% of people who play this game and actually do beat it, they're still going to be confused. They're going to be lost, and they're going to have to look it up. Second time around, I think people will be like, okay, cool. Yeah. This was important because of this, or I should have helped this NPC out. So it's like, this isn't a one playthrough game. Like, you're going to play through this multiple times if you even get through it. Like, that's what I'm starting to realize too, is I know I will beat it, but it's nowhere in sight. I'm nowhere near for months. I probably won't beat this game until Starfield comes out.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Like I said, I haven't even gone to the first boss yet, and I'm 12 hours in. All I've been doing is running around fucking off, basically, like trying to collect as much armor and weapons and things as I can, and just explore, right? Like, that's one of the really cool things about this is I think this is a great like water cooler game, right? Where some of the coolest shit about this game is talking to other people playing the game, and they're like, hey man, I found this thing over here, and you're like, oh, where? Like, show me where that is. I go over there, and then you check it out, or whatever, or vice versa, right? And I think that's one of the coolest things that this creates, is it creates that community to some extent, to where it is like this. It's not just playing a game. It's almost like, while the internet was still kind of in its infancy to some extent, where like it wasn't as common for people to have it. So then you would go to school and you would talk to people at school, and you're like, hey man, I was playing Zelda last night and like went and did this and did that. And you're like, oh, cool. You know, like Ocarina of Time was a huge example of that, like finding things in Ocarina, or Majora's Mask, or whatever it may be. But those kind of things seem to be lost now in a lot of ways. I mean, Skyrim did a pretty good job of that as well, because it was such an expansive world and so many like little dungeons and stuff. But yeah, it's something you don't see as often in games anymore. Like, you'll still find some of it, especially like if you stay a part of a community for a long time, especially like Reddit or something. You'll find posts like years later, especially like Breath of the Wild still does this stuff where you see like people doing crazy things in Breath of the Wild, and like, hey, look, you can do this, and you're like, how are you
finding
shit?
Or finding shit that no one else found yet, which is still, this game is going to be one of those games.
Yeah,
it just is. But like, the water cooler talk makes sense. The last time I felt about felt anyway about a game like that I was personally playing was either The Last of Us Part 2 or Death Stranding.
Mm-hmm.
Death Stranding really, with open world wise, Death Stranding for me at least, because it was really that game where it was just, here's the world, now just go. And I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
This game obviously kind of held your hand a bit more than what Elden Ring does, but still, like, the shit that they were showing, implementing, and having you personally do is one of those things where, like, people would just find new shit in Death Stranding and be like, yo, did you guys find this? I'm like, holy fuck, no, I didn't, but now I need to. That's what Elden Ring is doing to me right now, to the point where Brody and I will talk while we're getting paid to be at work. We are talking about Elden Ring.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's insane. This game is fucking wild.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as the story goes, yeah, I my notes literally say couldn't be fucked. Like, I have no clue what's going on. Basically, like, they give you a little bit of a cinematic, but it's kind of one of those things that they explain what's going on, but it's that really high fantasy type of thing where you're like, hold up, what now? Like, what's the 2-finger fucking, like, what's going on here? And
like 3 fingers, 4 fingers, maidens, and all that shit. I'm like, oh fuck, dude. Like, oh man.
Yeah, so that's kind of one of those things that I never really latched onto the story, nor did I really get this for the story. I mean, the lore of it is cool and things to learn along the way, but the story was not my main pull to this, not by any means. Now,
it's something you can find throughout the game, though.
Yeah, and it is something you'll experience as you go through, and you'll get some cool stuff later on. But right now, it's just kind of one of those things. Like, I'm just kind of pressing through it. I mean, there's some cool elements. There's some cool things going on there. Kind of getting some of that backstory is really cool. But I don't feel like the story is super pivotal to the world that you're in. I think the world builds itself very well. And like you said earlier, this open world is packed to the brim with things going on. There's very few areas that I found that were really all that wide and open. And even then, like, they were wide and open for what appeared to be a reason, or there was something going on there, or you, like, yeah, I came across this field and I went across this field for a little while and it felt kind of empty. And then all of a sudden there's like a coliseum. I'm like, okay, what is this? You know, like,
yeah.
They do a good job of, there's a few things off the beaten path, but that's by design. It seems like it's not empty for the sake of being empty, whereas something like, I feel like Breath of the Wild, there was a lot of empty space that you would run through that just felt empty. I mean, I adore that game, but there was a lot of empty space, and you were traveling, running, sometimes riding a horse, but half the time I spent running or whatever, and I never really, I don't know, I didn't seem to care about the world nearly as much as what I care about in Elden Ring. Like, the story it tells, each area, granted, some of the areas are kind of samey, but there are different areas where you're like, what the hell happened here? Like, what's going on with this area? And I think they do, it's that environmental storytelling rather than being super heavy-handed on, like, oh, hey, you got to listen to the story, you have to watch 8 hours of cutscenes, and then you'll understand, like, there's just a cool world building element that doesn't use heavy narrative in order to tell what it needs to tell.
Exactly, and that's why I think this works. Like, the world is telling its own story, and that's why I appreciate this. I'm not getting all these choreographed scenes. Like, there's a lot of random encounters that I just fucking love in this game too, which that's another part of the world that and the story. Like, these random encounters, how many of these random encounters are we going to find? Is everybody going to find each encounter right now throughout everyone should be on pretty much their first playthrough, unless they're Legends of the Souls games, pretty much, right? Yeah. So, like, I'm curious about that, but that's more about that's more of a later throughout the discussion type of thing.
So next up, I have graphics on my list.
You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I can start off here.
Okay.
So graphics to me are fine. I think the overall world is very gorgeous. If you look too hard, it's not the most gorgeous thing in the world. They are still using the same engine that they have used in the past, which honestly, the fact that they even got it to look as good as it does is super impressive. Now, I will say one of the big things that I think is like the world overall looks gorgeous. The monster designs are fucking awesome. Like all of the different things they have going on there are so cool. The people in this game are fucking ugly as hell.
Yes. Yes.
Like I created my character. The character creator was awesome. And the first thing I did was spun my character around. I'm like, oh God, what the fuck is that? That is not what I created.
I got confused too. I was like, guys, that's not what I made.
That is not the badass that I made.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, though, you're in armor.
Yeah.
And you're going to wear a helmet because the helmets that you can find in this game are just insane. But I digress. I'll go into that more later.
Yeah. I really don't have any gripes with the graphics on this game. Is it the most gorgeous game in the world? No, especially not being launched next to something like Horizon, which is clearly a very, very gorgeous game. But also, I mean, if you're a part of most of these conversations, which good luck, it's just toxic people hating each other most of the time. But it's okay to like different games, and it's okay to like both games. Even it's almost like opinions are entirely subjective. But weird how that works, right? But regardless, like graphically put up against games that are launching. Right now, it's not the most gorgeous game in the world. Does it do a lot of good tricks and things to make the world very gorgeous and the monsters look very interesting? Yes, it does. But it is certainly not something that I would sit there and be like, well, this is a graphical masterpiece. Now, I honestly don't even notice it until I sit back and look at it, right? Like if I'm while getting ready to do this show tonight, I very much sat down and I looked at things and just observed from a point of view that I hadn't been while I was playing the game. And I had to actually, I mean, that's what we do, right? Like we're supposed to be reviewing this, so we have to tear it apart in ways that most people probably wouldn't even pay any attention to. But overall, I have no complaints with the graphics. It's just not going to win like any awards for its graphics necessarily.
Absolutely, and that's kind of where I'm going off with that as well. It is a very pretty game. It is polished as well, I would say.
Yes.
I would say for what it is polished. It's an older engine game. Like I said, it's definitely last gen. It's not pulling any stops here. The cutscenes look great. When they do close up on characters and cutscenes, you can see that very grainy look. Is that taking me out of the game, though? No, because this is a high fantasy game where I don't need the fidelity of those graphics to be perfect.
Yeah.
I'm running this thing on max settings on my computer. Runs great, looks great. Couldn't ask for anything better.
Yeah.
I get just as immersed in this game as I do in any high graphic game.
Right.
Because it still looks great. I don't think it needs. If it gets an update, cool. Does it need it? No. I'm happy with what I got.
Yeah.
To piggyback off with what you said, it's not going to win any fucking graphical masterpiece awards or anything like that, but it excels in so many other ways that, again, the graphics are so secondary in my opinion, and they still look great. The game still looks great. It's a beautiful game. If you want to nitpick, but I don't see the point in that.
Right.
So I like the look of the game, the atmosphere, everything. It's phenomenal.
I agree. Gameplay's up next. Okay. I'll let you go first this time. You are also the Souls game veteran. I am certainly not. So this is all new to me, and so the gameplay is I can't even compare it to typical Souls games. So you have at it.
Crafting on the fly is amazing. Mount is amazing. Torrent's awesome, though the horseback combat can be a bit wonky. That's a huge complaint of ours. The horseback combat can be wonky. Obviously, being able to jump like you could in Sekiro. Thank fucking God.
Oh my God.
Thank fucking God.
Finally.
But this is a return to form. Yeah. This is a return to form to the Dark Souls games, man. Lock on, attack, roll, learn pattern. That's what you're doing here. But you're also doing a lot of other cool things gameplay-wise, man. But as for the combat, it's it's a Souls game. So you need to easy to play, hard to master.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'll leave that off at. They added a couple new cool things. That's all they needed to do. They didn't have to make this thing any different, because if they did, it would lose that allure to it, I think. Where it'd be like, oh, well, now it is somewhat an easier Souls game, but now you've added these features and you've taken that like Souls feel from the game, which is I'm glad they didn't do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, from being the Souls newbie here, it's brutal, but it is fair. I don't. There's been a couple times where I'm like, what the fuck? I can't figure this out. But it, like you said, it is very much learning patterns. I mean, I fought this giant bear, I think last night, and this thing kicked my ass. And it was one of those things that I just don't think I was fully equipped to take this thing on. I mean, because his lunge and stuff was crazy. Like, I just could not seem to figure it out. So I just went on my merry way, right? And that's fine. And sometimes you just have to come back to a battle like that. I just wasn't chipping away enough health. I was not my guard was getting broke constantly. Like, it wasn't a big it just I need to learn more about it, right? Like I said, I'm not using my shield like I should be. I'm not parrying like I should be. There's things that I'm still learning in this game. Obviously, I 12 hours into my first Souls game. Like I have a long way to go before I get any sort of confidence that I'm like, I got this under control now. But I will say with that, one of the craziest things about this game is a few years ago, I never would have been able to play this game. Absolutely not. Because
you just wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, I did not like games that were challenging like that. And but I will say now, I don't know if I'm just calmer individual now than what I probably was years ago. But the coolest thing about this is the fact that you can go in there, you can get your ass absolutely kicked, probably repeatedly. But then you can walk away from a fight, or not even walk away. You can die one time and you'd be like, no fucking way. How do you beat this? There's no way this is possible. And then once you do it, it is the most rewarding feeling in the world, even if it's just some like mini boss at the end of a dungeon, right? Like I fought one of those weird cat statue things probably 4 or 5 times before I finally beat it. And the time I beat it, I mean, I was in the Discord call with you guys, and I was ecstatic. Like the
you were
feeling,
jumping for joy.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that feeling is really, really cool, and it's something you're not going to get from very many games. I mean, the only game that you really get that sense of accomplishment and reward is something that is challenging like this, whether it be like a Castlevania or you know, a Metroid or whatever it may be. Like something I wanted to throw some different things out there other than just Souls games, but that feeling is something that can't be easily replicated in most situations or most games. I mean, you have some things that may be a slight hiccup, but I mean, you have never gotten your ass kicked like you have in a Souls game.
No, and the beauty behind this game as well, given that it is a open world game, is that if you are having a hard time, leave the area. Yeah. They've also implemented a fast travel. You're having a rough time, just fucking go somewhere else. Go back to an area in which you're comfortable in being in. Farm some souls, learn the game. It's a very high risk, high reward system as well. Yeah. Can be. The game will fuck you. It will trick you. It doesn't hold your hand, like I've said. But that's the beauty behind it, man. Like, it's just so much to learn, and it's phenomenal so far. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to touch on is the fact that the exploration of this game, it really, this open world really sets this aside in my mind, because it is this game that the mystery it creates with just how open it is. Like, they don't even directly really tell you where you need to go. You kind of have to figure that out for yourself too. Like, but it works out very well. It's one of those things that, depending on my mood, there have been a couple times that I've hopped in there to play it, and the openness of it actually kind of bugs me a little bit at times. But that's also just, I'm not a big open world guy anyway. I'm kind of to the point where I like linear stuff to some extent. But the openness and the mystery of this world really make this on most nights. Like I said, there's been, I think, one night that I'm like, I don't know, give me some direction, right? But
yeah,
I think it's I think it was a very smart move for them to go this way, to go to this open world. And like I said earlier, this sets itself aside from most open world games because it is filled with things going on. It's not just open for the sake of being open. You're not going around. You don't have to climb a tower to, view all of the random little checklist items on there that most open world games do. There's none of that here, really. I mean, yeah,
no
you get the
log.
map fragments. Yeah, there's no quest log. I'll be damned if I'm probably going to finish a side quest during this entire thing because there's no fucking way.
You probably have, and you don't even realize it.
Yeah, right. Like there's a couple things that you may do by accident, if nothing else. But I mean, I at one point I picked up a letter from this girl, and I'm supposed to deliver this letter. I don't know where the fuck it goes because I was in the Discord with us, and we were all with you guys, and we were just talking. And I know
where you have
things.
to go. I'll help you. I'll help you. You have to go to Castle Morn.
Okay.
It's easy. Yeah, it's fucking wild, man.
Yeah, I just think that's one of the crazy things about this, where how the open world is built plays such a huge role in my enjoyment of an open world game, and I think they mastered it here. And like I said, that mystery of what's around this corner, what's over here, what's this, like that works so well in this game, and it makes that gameplay loop so much more enjoyable because yeah, you could just be walking down a hallway and killing things like typical Dark Souls games have been in the past, where they are very linear. But I think this move to the open world was such a wise decision and something that I think they're definitely going to stick with because this was their trial run, right? Like, hey, we're going to do Elden Ring, but I would not be surprised to see something in the Bloodborne world that is an open world game, which would be incredible.
Do you have numbers by chance for this game?
I saw that the peak concurrent users on Steam were like 750,000, which is insane for a niche. I mean, Souls games are relatively niche, and this is certainly not.
This game drew everybody in. Well, let's just say that right now. I don't care who you are out there. Evan doesn't play these games. Julian doesn't play these games.
I don't play these games.
You don't. Steve from Build Bros doesn't play these games. All of them. Steve is getting the game. Evan, you, Julian, they don't play them. They all bought them. And again, Steve is buying it. That's the power behind fucking Elden Ring so far.
I don't know how accurate this is. I'm looking at an article right now. It says Elden Ring has reportedly sold 5 million copies on PC in less than a week. This was 2 days ago.
Yeah, I'm not shocked. Who's that article from?
DSO Gaming.
Okay. I mean, I'm not shocked.
Yeah, I just Googled.
This is Trump's highest ranking game ever, too.
This one from GamesIndustry.biz says Elden Ring is the biggest non-FIFA or Call of Duty launch since Red Dead Redemption 2.
Dude, this is going to be where they go. Like you said, this was their trial, and this trial passed. This test fucking aced it, dude. Everybody's talking. I think it's the most watched game on Twitch right now, too, and it's been there since release. This game is special, man. Bitch about the difficulty. I know we're going off on a side tangent here, and there's more things that we want to tick off our list, but just play this game. Learn this game. It is worth it for you to learn this. This is an experience that I haven't had since Skyrim. I haven't had it since Death Stranding, and Death Stranding is relatively new, but I'll go back further. Fallout 3. I have not had an experience in gaming like this since Fallout 3. Everything AAA has been so fucking shit, and FromSoft has almost been with the big boys, and now they are one of the big boys, I would say.
Oh yeah. I think they've been on that brink for a while now, and it all they needed was this game, right? Like this game solidifies them as the monolith that they now are, right? And
it could have failed.
Yeah, it absolutely could have just imploded, right? But it certainly did not, especially with, we've had so many of those games that have let us down, and to have this game that had all of this hype around it. I mean, I have not seen hype for a game like this other than like Cyberpunk in years, right? I mean, yeah, we're getting
exactly.
I think God of War will probably have pretty similar hype around it, but maybe not even to this level. I think God of War will still have a bunch of hype, but this is the craziest thing I've ever seen, and it came out and delivered. Granted, I do want to say there were and kind of still are some PC frame rate issues, right? So that is a minor, and PlayStation, yeah. Xbox seems to be relatively stable.
Which is
Digital
weird
Foundry,
because it's flipped usually. It's usually the PlayStation stable, the Xbox is not. Before we go into that, Twitch right now, 274,000 viewers are watching Elden Ring.
That's crazy.
Again, 274,000. This thing is beating Counter-Strike right now, Overwatch, Rainbow Six, Valorant, Lost Ark, Apex Legends, Escape from Tarkov, League of Legends, Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, Elden Ring.
Yeah.
What the fuck? But yeah, no, there are stutters. There are speed ups and slowdowns. Have you encountered that yet?
Yeah, a couple times.
It's like when you like rewind and fast forward on a VHS, your guy's like, and then it's like you're just dead. And I'm like, oh, okay. Is this the actual gameplay segment of this, by the way?
Yes, we're still in gameplay.
Okay. That is my main issue so far. This is far from a perfect game,
right?
But it doesn't have to be perfect to be a masterpiece. I think.
Yeah, I agree. Right? Like I don't think there is such thing as a perfect game. I think you could assume a game is perfect based on your opinion, but I don't think that there is ever going to be such a thing where there's not going to be bugs. I don't think that's feasibly possible anymore, right? Like games are so complicated at this point and so large that there's going to be bugs, there's going to be issues from time to time. The frame rate on PC at times was unplayable. There was one day that I had to restart the game a couple times before I finally got it to seemingly work. But with the most recent patch that came out, I believe yesterday, which would have been Wednesday if you're listening on audio, I think that mainly fixed it. I was able to play pretty consistently. I know some of the other guys were still having some issues. I don't know if they just hadn't
couldn't load.
Yeah, I know Matt had some issues with like not being able to load in. But I have a couple other negatives I did want to touch on here. So you mentioned earlier the horseback combat. It's
a tough one. That's a tough one to say.
It is. It does not roll off the tongue very well. I absolutely despise the horseback combat. Granted, I haven't done much of it, and so maybe it's just me not getting used to it. But I don't care for it too much right now.
Question.
Yeah.
What about traversal?
Traversal, I think, is actually pretty smooth. I think horse controls overall are pretty decent, and I think the horse has the right amount of movement. You like the turn radius seems right for what a horse would turn. I mean, you're not going to do a 90-degree turn or anything, right? But yeah, but it seems fair. Now it's just the combat I have an issue with. I actually love riding around on Torrent. I think it works very well.
That
double jump's sweet. Not being able to double jump to save yourself from fall damage kind of sucks, but
yeah, I don't get that.
That is a weird thing, but I also kind of understand to some extent. I mean, because then you could just fucking go everywhere.
No, fuck that. There's been times where I've been like on a rock and like it was like a distance like this, and my guy went, and then like I hit right here, and he goes,
"Oh, really?
Like, what?" Yeah, I'm like, that's stupid as fuck.
Yeah,
like I just rolled off a cliff, and my guy was like, "Huh, good." Fucking let me pop my leg back in place. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
That's been an issue here and there.
The lock-on system and the camera can be finicky at times as well.
You have to fight with it. It can be a pain in the ass, especially when you're dealing with mobs.
Yeah, if you're dealing with a mob and you want to target the guy that's 2 feet in front of you, it's probably going to target the guy that's in the very back for some fucking reason. And God. You cannot get it to target the guy you want sometimes. It is very frustrating. There was also another time where I was trying to target someone, and all it did was change my camera to like face in front of me directly.
Yeah.
There's just some screwy stuff like that. I mean, I from what I understand, that's pretty common with some of the Dark Souls games, not giving that a pass by any means, but it is something to note that is frustrating, especially in a game that is brutally hard in its combat. It is not the most ideal thing when you are trying to make it through a dungeon or whatever that may be.
Perfect timing is key in these games.
Yeah.
Like literally, like you have to learn shit and time shit correctly.
Right.
So to have those stutters, have those lock-on issues, have the camera issues in 2022 still, it seems like an oversight, honestly. It doesn't seem like something that they don't want to fix. I'm sure they want to fix it. It just seems like an oversight, given the scale of this project.
Yeah.
And it's not giving it a pass. It should have been fixed. Right. And I'm hoping maybe a patch or two or the next game will address these issues. But yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, the last thing I had on my notes here was just basically that frame rate issue, right? And that seems to be somewhat across the board, but worst on PC, of course, which this is like the first AAA game I actually bought on PC since I upgraded everything. So I was like, man, that kind of sucks. But like I said, the patches seem to be making it better each time. And I barely noticed any slowdowns or any weird frame rate issues last night when I was playing. So that's promising. They're definitely moving in the right direction. And I have faith that it will get to where it needs to be. And I think it will be soon. Like, I think, honestly, within another patch or so, I think that frame rate issue will be all but gone. I mean, like, maybe an occasional thing here or there, and that could be based on your hardware too. I'm not sure, right? But
I agree with that.
It's definitely improving.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I could see immediately came out and apologized. They're like, hey, we are sorry for this performance issue. We're addressing it ASAP. Honestly, though, you don't need a beast of a computer to run this thing.
No, you really don't.
And that's the beauty behind this game as well. You don't need to spend $1,000 on a computer to run this.
Hell,
obviously, would it
Steam
help?
Decks will run it real well once we get those.
I'm surprised your wife wasn't fucking pissed.
Nah, we good. We're good.
Yeah. If you want to hear more about that drama, there's no drama with Amber, but we got a bit nervous on the show.
Yeah. It's like, I bought a Steam Deck live on the Hotfix on WASD. So,
dude, I was fucking 3 sheets to the wind, and I'm like, come on, bro, it's cool, just do it. You're like, okay. So you were sober and you listened to the drunk guy.
Yeah.
What's that about?
I have a problem with impulse buying things.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at being like, come on. But yeah, I'm waiting. Fuck, dude. I'm waiting for those patches up, but I'm still playing. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Is that those problems are there, but that is still not enough to keep me out of this fucking world.
Oh, absolutely not. Not even close. Even when it was at its worst, I still shut it down and started it right back up again to hope that fixed it. Like, nope.
It's like me and my gambling.
Play, man.
It's just like me and my gambling issue that I haven't gambled in a while, by the way. But like I would fucking hit the slot and I would be losing, so I just close the app and reopen it. And like in my
like
stupid little fucking my brain, I was like, if I close it, that means I'll start winning on this slot. It never happened like that. Anyways.
And before we get away from this gameplay thing, I did want to say that I have not been this hooked into a game in a very long time. This gameplay loop, the world to explore, everything about it has, I mean, I will be sitting at work, and like you said earlier, we've been talking about it at work. I have been, listening to YouTube videos. I am obsessed with this game in a way that I have not been obsessed with a game in a very long time. And that's even after I have died God knows how many times at this point. But everything about it, the way it is very much addicting to where even when you should be going to bed, you're sitting there like, but what's that over there? But what's that over there? Because the way the world is built, again, the world is like the main thing about this game that sells everything of all the components of what makes a Souls game so good, and then add in this excellent world that is really what makes this so different from anything else
The
out
world
there.
is alive.
Yeah, but like anytime you stop and if you look, you can in any direction you can see at least 2 to 3 things that you're like, what's that? What's that over there? Like,
dude, you can see the different biomes at a fucking gorgeous distance.
Yeah.
Like you just said, like you could be looking out, and it's like there's just a biome that you're like, I need to get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you just do it. It's just like Skyrim all over again. And I hate bringing Skyrim up because that's like the quintessential thing. Everybody, it's just like it's not just like Skyrim, but like there's aspects here that remind me of when I first played Skyrim.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's amazing.
Absolutely. It definitely hits a lot of those points very well, where it is like exactly that feeling the first time you're riding down that stupid wagon.
Yeah.
Oh, you're awake. Like same feelings though that first time that this dragon attacks and you get to walk out on your own and you're like, holy shit, like this is crazy. And it captures that same feeling the way that I have not had in a very, very long time, and it's incredible. I that's all I really have on gameplay, at least right now. Do you got anything else you want to add?
No, you hit the nail on the head, man. I'm loving it, and despite the issues here and there, I'm chugging along, man. I can't stop.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. We were talking about keeping this short so we could probably go play, but I don't know if it's gonna. Well, we'll probably still play. We're addicts.
Yeah, we're playing still. Yeah.
And so the last category before we get into whether we recommend it and any other side conversations we want to have about this is sound. It's a category to me that typically gets lost in a lot of conversations about games.
Absolutely.
But I still like to cover it. And even in this game, I feel like the sound is subtle. I think the music and things that are added into this game are fantastic, but half the time I don't even notice them, and I don't know if that's a compliment or a knock on it. Because like it blends into everything so well that I don't even really notice it's happening. I'm just so immersed. So I'm assuming that is a good thing, but I could not really explain any of the music to you that is happening throughout this game, or even if there was, because while I was sitting there thinking about this as I was writing up my notes, I'm like, is there music very often? Like, what's going on here, right? And I think that's a compliment, right? Like I think that is something that it blends so well into the world and everything that you're doing that it complements it without overpowering anything, and it plays so perfectly, and it plays its role so perfectly that I think that's the ultimate compliment. If you don't even notice it, then it's perfect. Like to me,
it's doing its job at that point.
It's doing exactly what it should be.
Yeah, so the sound so far for me has been exactly that, immersive. Whether you're going into a new area of the game and you can hear the rain just fucking and the thunder just pounding down on the earth, and in a distance you can just hear something screaming, and just like behind you for no reason you just hear boom, 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 huge footsteps, an enemy you didn't see, a huge giant just fucking bum rushing you. Those are the moments where the sound, especially for me, have been like, holy fuck, I forget that I'm in a video game.
Yeah.
Because I start freaking out internally. I'm like, dude, I need to get the fuck out of here. And I'm like, oh, I need to calm down. I'm just playing a video game. It's so immersive. The combat sounds, just like the slashing of the swords, the sword hitting a shield, spell casting is it's all return to form Souls sounds. It really is. Mm-hmm. But there's like that bit of amplification here where it's just that much better. And what you said is just perfect. It's so immersive that I am not even taking account for the music. Mm-hmm. I know there's music and I know it's there, but it's just so fucking good that I blended in with the world, the story that we're still piecing together, the gameplay, and the sound. It just makes this fucking game that much more of a masterpiece. So the sound is top notch.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah, even like weapon sounds and things like that. There was nothing that really was bad to me. I never noticed anything that was weird. You get kind of like a whooshing sound whenever you swing a sword. Like it sounded like it should, right? And
Exactly.
The fact that it didn't stand out to me like a sore thumb means it's probably fine. There was nothing that was, it's doing its job. Like I think that's an important part of it, where if it's not overpowering everything else, then it is doing exactly what it needs to be doing. And because there are times where the sound can be overpowering, and it is something that will stand out like a sore thumb. But this does not do that. I think it doesn't overstay its welcome. It is perfectly exactly what it needs to be, and I have no real complaints with anything as far as sound goes.
Nope, same. Yeah, you're getting 10 out of 10 for me right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's going to win like, sound design at the Game Awards or anything, but I think it does what it needs to do.
Absolutely.
So kind of to put a little bit of a bow on this, we don't rate things, right? We don't give it a number from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. We basically, the way we like to approach our reviews is, would you recommend this to someone? Because if I'm having a conversation with somebody, I'm not going to be like, it's a 7 out of 10. No, I'm going to tell you, like, it's a fucking awesome game. Go get it. Or it's a good game. Maybe wait for a sale or something like that. So ultimately, we try to go off of that kind of scale. I mean, where you stand on this, I already know where you stand on this because it's the same fucking place I stand on this. But
this game, no matter what price point, no matter if you got the standard, deluxe, collector's edition, thank you very much, Connor. Thank you for that collector's edition. The ultra collector's edition with the helmet, it's worth every penny. Do not wait for this game to go on sale. Buy this at full price. And I know that sounds so fucking ridiculous. I'm not shilling for From, right. But my God, the work they put in this game, they deserve every bit this game has to offer financially. But get this game. Get it. $60, $70. It's worth every fucking penny that it's sold for. This is a must-have in anybody's library. Stop comparing it to Breath of the Wild. Don't compare it to fucking Skyrim. This is its own fucking thing. Yeah. You will learn the game. Do not be discouraged by the difficulty. Just learn the game, learn the story, learn the world, learn how you want to play this game. Mm-hmm. That's what I would tell people. This game has so much to offer for anybody playing at any player skill cap or skill level. There's so much you can learn and do in this game. It's worth it. Even if this is your first entry into the Souls like games, this is a very welcoming entry despite the difficulty. Get this game, learn it, like I said, and just dive into Elden Ring. Must have. This is a must-have title in anyone's library.
I agree. Absolutely. As far as the full price thing, I genuinely would recommend that because this time right now is one of the most magical times to be playing this game because people are finding things. You get to be a part of these conversations as it happens, and that's what really shines for this type or this specific game. I think right now it's a very cool thing to be a part of as it happens and as it unfolds. I mean, Elden Ring has been trending since it launched. It was trending before it launched. Like you cannot get away from this game even if you wanted to. Our last episode that we put up is doing gangbusters, and all we did was talk about first impressions, and I had played it for an hour and a half, and Evan had not even played it yet, right? Like it is doing incredible. And so this episode, we definitely want to devote everything to solely talking about Elden Ring because it is such a massive game, and I genuinely think this is going to go down or make it into my top 5 games of all time as it stands right
absolutely.
now. Again, I am not a Souls player, or I have not been historically. I mean, now I'm like, okay, so after I finish this, I want to go back to Bloodborne. Like, I want to try all these games. I'm like, now that I know what they're about, and now that I understand it, this is the easiest entry point you're going to get into this franchise, this series. I think this is obviously the first time they're doing this open world, but I think, even Elden Ring 2 or the Bloodborne open world or whatever it may be is only going to get better from here. And I could feel confident sitting down and recommending this to pretty much anyone, right?
Right.
There is something to be said. It is difficult. So if you are someone who is easily frustrated, that is the only thing that I could be like, maybe don't. You do have to have some patience for this. But the difficulty is not the only thing about this game that makes it incredible. That perseverance to actually sit down and figure something out is so rewarding. And something I, again, never really got out of the old Souls games that I had originally tried, because a few years ago I didn't have the patience for it. I feel like I have the patience for it now. So, I mean, there's a couple people that I'm thinking of right off the top of my head. I'm like, maybe you don't try it because you'll break 8 controllers in a matter of like a week. But I think if I genuinely believe that most people would be able to play this game and find something they enjoy in it, even if it is not the combat initially or whatever. But that moment of figuring something out is so fucking rewarding in this game that it is unlike any game I've really played before. And
absolutely,
it's very hard, right? Like, it is one of those things that there will be people that will bounce off of this. But I think this has been easily the most accessible this series has ever been. Yeah, because if you do hit a point that it is hard, you just go grind some low level guys. You go wander around the world. You find cool shit. Like, there's always a way to move forward, and it may not be going up against this boss and dying 900 times. It may be something different, but the way this world is created and the way it kind of funnels you where you should go without telling you directly where you should go is
fucking wild.
Top-notch game design there. It truly is. And I mean, Jeff is not big on games like this, and I would still even recommend this to Jeff. I think he would probably bounce off of it at some point in time, but yeah. I think, like I said, I was concerned going into this. I thought for sure I was going to get this game and I was going to hate it, and I was like, man, do I even pick this up at full price? And I am so incredibly happy I picked this up at full price. I've been a part of this conversation. I've been able to talk about it on the show. I've been able to talk about it with you. Those water cooler talks to me are so important that I genuinely do believe 95% of people will find some sort of enjoyment in this game and will really, really like it. Whether it makes it into their top 10, top 5, top 10, whatever, it may not. But I think the vast majority of people, this is going to be right up there in a game that sticks with them for a very, very long time.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, it's just can't say it better than that. Absolutely.
But I love Elden Ring. I'm sure this is not going to be the last time that we talk about Elden Ring, either on WASD or Diggity. It will be sticking around for a while.
There's
forward,
a WASD review that has to come out too.
Right? So. Yeah. But we'll definitely talk about it again. This is probably going to be the last time we really, really focus on it, I think, at least on Diggity, because Jeff should be back next week, and at this moment he has not played it yet, so it would just be me talking to myself and Jeff listening. But we will probably, eventually talk about it again. We will talk about it a little bit more here and there, but it is certainly not going to be as in-depth as this. I mean, this was it was a hour-long episode devoted solely to 12 hours spent into this game. 12
Only
hours.
12.
Like, I've spent a 12th of the amount of time I have played this game just sitting here talking about this game with you. It's incredible. And that's not even including the conversations we've had outside of this. I cannot speak highly enough about this game. I adore it. I 100%. Anything that comes out the rest of the year is going to have to fucking do something incredible to beat this out for Game of the Year.
Absolutely.
Like,
and I don't think, even with God of War, I really don't think.
I'm going to love God of War, but I really don't think it will beat out Elden Ring. Like, I'm a massive, massive God of War fan, especially 2018. Like, loved it. But I don't think it'll beat out Elden Ring. I really don't.
I really don't. And Star Citizen comes out way too late in the game to even be nominated. So
And that's not a knock at God of War, by the way. This is just something very special that I genuinely, for the next decade, I don't think anyone will get close to touching unless From does something even crazier and does a Bloodborne version of it, and it's fucking amazing too. Like,
the only thing I think that could come out that would push this down is Half-Life 3, but that's not happening.
Yeah,
it's not happening.
And that is you being a shill.
Fuck you, buddy. Fuck you. I want my Half-Life 3.
Oh, God. But thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. This was a lot of fun. I was very much looking forward to doing this episode and really diving deep into it. With that being said, I'll let you go first. Go ahead and plug where everybody can find you and everything you do.
Yes. So my name is Nick, or you, as you may know me, flies.wasd on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on WASD and Beyond every Wednesday and Friday at 7 a.m. We are going to be working on videos. Brody's actually going to be kind of the background producer, helping us get through our first couple of videos. So expect that soon. I am also on OBO sporadically because we're changing the formula on OBO because now we have the whole network and there's a lot we can do with OBO. Mm-hmm. So I am one of the hosts of OBO. We go live every Monday, 9 o'clock, 9:30 area, with audio dropping on Tuesdays at 5 a.m. You can find WASD and Beyond on Twitter at Beyond WASD and on Instagram at Beyond WASD. You can find us on Apple and Spotify. Please rate and subscribe to us there. It helps us. It helps us beat the algorithm and all the other shows that we love, but we have to get ahead of you. I'm sorry, but I don't want to work my 9 to 5 anymore. I hate it. So fudge yourself. And WASD is probably sponsored by Final Boss. If you aren't looking at their shit, they're dropping an insane Gabe Newell t-shirt. Did you see that?
I did.
I told Eric, I was like, yeah, dude, go ahead and just send me whatever is coming in that. He's like, all right. Yeah. I was like, yeah, go ahead. Write me up for that. So Final Boss, good homies, good sponsors of WASD and Beyond. And we are part of the Spawn Camp Co. group. Brody, I'll push it off to you now with leaving it off at Spawn Camp.
Yeah. So since you already plugged Spawn Camp, I was going to get it at the end as the encompassing thing, but I like it.
You can still do that.
No, I think you do it so much better. I enjoy it.
Oh, come on.
So you can find Diggity on Instagram and Twitter at Diggity Podcast, and we go live every Thursday at 9:30 most of the time. Sometimes it gets pushed back a little bit, just depending on what's going on, because, life and things. But we go live on YouTube and Twitch at 9:30 on Thursdays, Eastern Time, and then the audio goes up at 5 a.m. on Friday mornings. YouTube right now is a massive, massive push for us. We stream everything to Spawn Camp Co. on both YouTube and on Twitch. That is a massive, massive push. So if you are not subscribed, we would greatly appreciate it if you drop over there and subscribe. I don't care if you never watch us again, but we're just trying to I mean, I would love for you to watch us again, but if you listen to the podcast, that's good enough for us too. We just love to have you guys involved in the conversations and listening to what we rant and rave about, and things that we hate and whatever it may be. So with that though, I mean, go follow. Yes.
Oh, I was gonna bring up Build Bros. Were you about to do that?
I was going to go just general Spawn Camp and follow everybody under there. But definitely go check out our good friends and our network mates, the Build Bros. They do an anime and gunpla podcast. They are at BuildBros_MI on both Instagram and Twitter. So definitely go check them out if you're into anime and gunpla, or even just some crazy conversations. Those guys are nuts.
I love those guys.
We've been featuring them on the Spawn Camp Network stuff right now. I had them all write up copy that I could post, and it is insane. I love it. I love it so much. They're fucking goobers for sure, but they make a great podcast, and they're very good friends of ours, and we love them to death. So definitely check them out. Check out Spawn Camp as a whole. We have a website coming here pretty soon, and we are we are excited to unveil that here soon. This is the longest plug I think we've ever done on this show. So with
I have one more.
Oh fuck.
Shout out to Noah from NM Designs.
Yes.
For revamping the WASD and Beyond logo. Fucking, we're moody and we're old now. Love it. Okay, now I'm done.
Okay.
And Kyle Zolkowski for making the website. Thank you, Kyle. We love you. All right, now I'm done.
Okay. I think we're good now. With that, thank you guys so much for watching or listening, and we will see you next week.